Gonna start the story with a disclaimer. Not all women, but terrible situation nonetheless. Today I freaked up by sleeping with a classmate. Obligatory, this happened a year and a few months ago. Me, 22-year-old male, and a now ex-friend who's 18 and female, struck up a mutual friends with benefit relationship in college. We met about once or twice a week for a few weeks after we both just got out of long relationships that ended poorly. We broke it off after a few weeks was over, but remained friends and communicated regularly, even to where she came to my side defending me against people accusing me of grooming her even after we stopped meeting up. A few weeks later, she admitted she had feelings for me after not talking to me for a few days, and in an intense argument, I told her I wasn't going to be able to date her for a variety of reasons. Mainly being I'm much closer to graduating than she was and we aren't in the same stage of life. She cut all communication after that, other than insulting me regularly in group chats, referencing our situation, and outright lying to our mutual friends about what happened. After a few times of her doing this over the coming months, I privately reached out to her to tell her to stop. She continued. After 3 times of this, I reached out again and got no response. Instead, she halted all communication in all of the groups we were in for 2 days. A few days after I sent my email to her asking her to stop talking to me, I get a notice from the Title IX office in my school. She turned me in and accused me of sexual assault and harassment. I was assigned a lawyer by my school via Title IX procedures to act as my advisor. I couldn't explain what was going on to anyone. I felt like I was going insane, to the point where I got hospitalized for a few days because there was no end in sight for everything going on. I was left, and was later kicked out of, one group and limited my interaction in the other at my lawyer's advice, at least until the Title IX trial, which is held by the state with 6 official judges from the local county acting as the jury. I submitted all evidence I had of her trying to smear my name, including our conversation all those months ago when things went wrong, all insults she sent over to me, and any communication we had since the alleged incidents. The trial happened about 8 months after the situation ended, and I was pronounced innocent after she admitted she made the whole thing up in this mock court. However, I'm still dealing with the repercussions over a year later. These groups I used to be in are actively targeting me and using me as the butt of jokes. My false accuser is still in these groups and has turned public opinion so far against me that I've been officially banned from these groups. I had to delete my Reddit account because I took moderation action against one of their mods, and they doxed me while sending a harassment campaign towards me. It got so bad they were taking pictures of my family and posting it on their forum for laughs. I finally graduated a month or so ago, and I can finally begin to move on. Now for some extra info, she was not 16 when this started. The ages mentioned are the ages we were when this event happened. She was about to turn 19 as well. There was just over a 3-year age difference between us. I just turned 22, she was about to turn 19. She was a sophomore, and I was a junior. Who gives a schmidt about ages anyway? We were both above 18 in college and have had it on with people prior to each other. Now, to be fair, they did mention about people accusing them of grooming, so it kind of makes sense for us to assume that maybe it was a bit of a difference. And no, she wasn't obviously crazy or insane or immature or anything. She was a student who had decent grades, stayed out of trouble, and had a future lined up ahead of her. So please stop saying, that's why you don't stick your D in crazy. You're not original, you're not special, and has been said or responded to over 10 times. And they go on to mention about the importance of these groups, having over 150 friends in these groups, suddenly having like maybe less than 6. And how these sort of announcements were shared to everyone about his situation and pretty much all being on her side. Totally not biased at all. I was distanced by everyone, including my professors, because of this. It's easy to say they don't matter, but I guarantee you've never had 80 to 90% of your peers think you did something so gut-wrenching and reprehensible that they don't talk to you anymore outside of when they are forced to. I mean, I won't apologize for it, but I do acknowledge that that is the risk of it all. If I knew someone who did do this to someone, yeah, I'd absolutely would alienate them from any social group and interaction I have with them. I would not let this slide unless I was genuinely satisfied with the repercussions they were experiencing as a result. You know, you did that to a woman? Okay, well, why should I respect you? You didn't respect her. And I mean, you could jump to the conclusion that maybe this person's just trying to make a desperate attempt to clear their name in a sense. But I feel like if that was the case, you know, you can see the signs when someone's definitely trying to dart around what they did. Top comment does mention that you could easily get them back with your own Title IX complaint, but according to their advisor, doing so would just be a waste of your own money and time because they're also poor anyway. You'd be spending up to $30,000 and years of your time wasted just trying to get back at this person, of which, what, no one else is going to really change their minds on her, are they? They're just going to see this as you trying to go after her. My only fear in this for them is the fact that, is there some way to have that just out there that she was lying about this? Because over 150 people in the same industry you're trying to break into, can you guarantee that this is not going to be haunting you for the rest of your life? And it's probably where his mental health is coming from. But let's meet someone who is truly a swine of all swines. Oh, get ready for this one. This is just incredible. I'm a 28-year-old male. I got revenge on my friend, who's a 33 female, for being hard to get, and I can't deal with the guilt. I assure you, after reading this story, you'd wish they were dealing with more than just guilt. I, a 28 male, have grown up with and am best friends with Clarissa, 33 female. Claire for short. Ever since we were in elementary school, she's always been protected of me, just like a big sister, and I've always looked up to her as a surrogate big sister. We've mostly had a strictly platonic relationship, although over the past 2 years, I've developed romantic feelings for her. It's worth noting right here that Clarissa was violently assaulted back in 2019, and I held her hand all throughout therapy. She's still dealing with trauma from that awful time in her life. Anyway, back in December 2021, I invited Claire over to my apartment. Long story short, I tried to get in her pants. Dude, even the wording is just, ugh. You couldn't just say I tried to make a move. Well, you know, it just sounds like you literally were like, hi, welcome, come in, take them off. But she teased me and jokingly said stuff like, maybe when you're old enough, and likened our relationship to that between a brother and a doting big sister. Completely platonic and nothing intimate. I was so looking forward to hooking up with her, and although I never showed it, I was so upset and angry that she refused to reciprocate my feelings. After all, she was lying in my bed, stripped down to her bra and tight jeans when she turned me down. Talk about mixed signals. Oh, that's not a mixed signal! Just because they don't have a certain layer of clothing on doesn't mean they want you down. Gosh darn it, man! I mean, where are you coming from? I was so looking forward to hooking up with her. Oh, she refused to reciprocate my feelings. Horny isn't a feeling, okay? It's just a libido. It's just a sex drive. Are you sure you actually like her, or you just horny? You're clearly just horny. In many cases, horny and attraction, like emotional attraction, can come hand in hand. You know, you can get them both at the same time. But I genuinely think this is just you going after her because, hey, this girl is close and friendly to me. Clearly, this is my only chance to bang a girl right now, so I'ma bang her because she's nice to me, not because I genuinely actually feel something. You need to bust a nut out before you see her every single time, just to make sure you actually are interested in her, or if you're just interested in getting it. Dude. A few days after my failed attempt at intercourse, it's just the worst. Stop. Just say, oh, I hate it. I hate the words. We went to the gym together. Claire is one of those super sporty, athletic tomboys, and she sometimes encourages me, couch potato, to work out with her. That day, however, I decided to just sit on the bench and surf my phone while she was on the treadmill. She was wearing nothing more than some very short shorts and a skimpy, spaghetti-strapped sports bra during that workout. You are disgusting. God damn. I think we just need to bring up, now class, little pop quiz for you. Can you bring up anywhere in the story so far where he's mentioned anything he's attracted to about her other than her body? I mean, he's like a doting big sister. She's protective. Because, you know, that's a very attractive trait in someone you want to sleep with, that they like your sister. After about 20 minutes of running, Claire got off the treadmill and came to me, looking scared. She asked me to get her long-sleeve shirt from the car. I gave her a ride. I told her that I was feeling kinda lazy and didn't feel like going all the way to my car, and she looked at me with the saddest, most desperate eyes and told me that she felt exposed and wanted to cover up her skin. She said it was about that thing, the term we use to refer to her experience, and she was holding back tears. She simply whispered to me, please. I could tell that Clarissa was basically feeling terrified for her life. But I was still really ticked off about how she turned me down a few days beforehand. I bluntly told her just to get her shirt herself and reminded her that it's her fault that she always chooses to dress up half naked. I regret being so harsh to her. After I rebuked her, Clarissa started crying and bawling her eyes out and having a full-blown panic attack. She kept whimpering, please, and kept her arms crossed over her chest and shoulder straps as though she was afraid that somebody would rip her sports bra off. The gym staff came over and it took a full hour for them to calm Clarissa down and get her to stop crying. The gym staff called her younger brother, who came to pick her up. Clarissa actually covered my butt and told her brother that she was having a panic attack and left out everything I said and did to her. I felt mortified seeing her cry. I spent the next few weeks desperately messaging and calling Clarissa, telling her how sorry I was and how I should have just gotten her shirt for her. She never responds to my apologies. I'm still calling and messaging her around the clock these days and she never responds. So I have no idea how she's doing nowadays. I'm sorry for whatever I did to her, and I'm willing to do anything to get my big sister back. Survey says, dude, you're so freaking selfish. You don't really care for her. You're sorry that you're lonely without whatever emotional crutch you used her for. If you actually cared, you'd realize what a freaking screw-up you are and never contact her again because you'd realize that you'd behaved atrociously and aren't a good enough person and need to do a lot more work on yourself. Again, where in the story did he ever mention an attractive trait about her that wasn't about her body and him being horny? People, if you can explain anything attractive about your partner that isn't about what they do for you or to you or just the way they look, then you're not attracted to them. I mean, you are, just not in a romantic relationship sense. There's no actual foundation of love that is genuine beyond horny and beneficial. So then how about this friend who's like probably more in a gray area of being an a-hole? My best friend stayed neutral when my girlfriend cheated on me. I'm a 19 male, and I found out recently that my girlfriend, who's 18, slept over at another guy's apartment after lying to me about where she was and what she was doing. I found out privately through a friend of a friend while my best friend, me, my girlfriend, and a few other people were all hanging out because the guy felt I should know. I was heartbroken and furious, but held it together, packed up my things, and left without a word. My best friend, we'll call him John, is friends with both me and my now ex, and apparently knew what she had done because she had told him just before I arrived. He followed me out of the room and tried to yell at me, and that my behavior was unacceptable for leaving without a word to her about what was going on. I was angry and sad and just wanted to get away before I said or did something I would regret. But he told me I was being stupid and that I needed to talk it out with her immediately. I had a moment of weakness and curled up into a ball on the sidewalk, and some of my ex's friends came to console me, but not John. He went and got her, brought her to me, and tried to force me to talk to her, which I did, but the conversation was not healthy and did not end well. I regret the tone I used with her, and I regret that I cussed him out when he tried to tell me to shut the hell up and talk to her, but I wasn't ready for that conversation with my ex. The next day, I went to meet up with him to talk a bit about what happened, and after explaining my side of the story, I had confessed to my ex that I was horribly depressed and needed her to be there for me, but instead, she spent 3 nights in a row with another guy. He criticized my communication with her, said if I didn't make it clear that I didn't feel comfortable with her staying the night at another dude's apartment, then I was wrong. Once I made it clear that I had communicated with her, he told me that in this instance, it was, me most likely in the right, but that he wanted to stay impartial and hear out her side of the story. Yes, ex-girlfriend, what is your equally balanced issue in this circumstance?
I stayed at a guy's house for 3 nights and slept with him.
Yes, but why?
Because I was horny.
No.
Because you don't treat me, you don't make me feel special.
Oh, understandable. It may just be the heartbreak over everything or the general sadness I've been feeling, but for whatever reason, I'm struggling with his reaction to everything. He didn't even tell me what she did, even though he knew. He told me off for leaving angry, forced me to talk to her when I wasn't ready to, and then claimed neutrality when we talked about things after the fact. I really needed a friend, but I feel as though instead I got a cold, unfeeling judge, and I don't feel like I trust him anymore to have my back. He's been dealing with his own issues, and a rift is slowly growing between us, so I don't know what I can or should do to talk to him about all of this, and I could use some guidance. But here's where it gets a bit interesting. Edit, some of the comments are pointing out that I was vague in my wording, and I definitely want to clear that up. I should have done so earlier, but completely forgot. I cannot confirm whether she had slept with the guy she stayed over with. I wasn't there, and I'll never be able to know for sure. What I do know is that she lied to me, so I'd leave her alone so she could sneak over to his place late at night, stayed the night at his place. She said she slept on his couch, told her friends that I knew she was there and was okay with it, tried to cover it up by telling them to keep quiet about it, then pretending she didn't know why I was upset when one of her friends stepped in and told me what happened. I truly am sorry, my wording was misleading. It was a terrible mistake to make. So, I mean, yeah, okay, even with that clarification that, you know, there was technically no proof that you slept, that she slept around, I think it's pretty easy to insinuate she slept around. And even if it wasn't actually cheating, the fact she still tried to hide this from you. Let's go on the complete assumption that maybe this was someone that he didn't like, just, you know, he had beef with. But she didn't. He was actually someone that she has a good friendship with. And that person was dealing with some stuff that he just needed a good friend's company, and she was the only one available. So she put her hand up, but she knew if she let OP know, there'd be issues there. So she felt like, okay, I'm here to console and be there for a friend right now during something they're going through with. I know my boyfriend won't want me to be there with them, but I really do care about this friend. I think I'm the only one who can be there for them. So I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna let the boyfriend know. Dang it, someone told my boyfriend. I don't know, I just don't feel like it's still fair on the partner. They still have the right to know. They're allowed to feel however they want. He's allowed to be upset at you for going to another person's house. It's just stupid that you would try and hide it from them. That does nothing but make you look guilty. So I don't really know how to segue into this story. I'm just gonna leave it right here for you. Bam! That's the title. Shall we dive in? I will say trigger warning in regards to victims of molestation and all that not good stuff. I don't even know where to begin with this. I really didn't know much about either side of my family. At least the dark secrets that most try to sweep under the rug. Really, everything came to light a few years back. I spent a lot of my childhood being so close to my older brother. We'll call him A. A and I lived with my grandma for a couple years when we were younger, and we always played video games together, prank called people, and just had each other's back. He was my older brother, you know? Someone I considered a protector. Things got a bit strained between us when I got my first boyfriend in high school, and he started trying to control my phone usage, and tried restricting me from going out. For context, he is 3 years older than me, and my mum never believed in grounding, or honestly, punishing in general. So him trying to control me was really freaking weird. When we lost our housing, we all, mum, brothers, and I, moved into my older sister's one-bedroom apartment. It was a screwed-up situation, but at least we weren't homeless. I was in high school at this time, maybe a junior, and I decided to stay home from school because I felt extremely sick. My little brothers went to school. My mum and sister and her fiancé went to work. So it was just my older brother and I. He asked me if he could ask me for a favor, and then proceeded to ask if I could help him off, as he had been having trouble on his own. I couldn't freaking believe it. Did my older brother really just ask me that? I was so scared and disgusted. I was at a loss for words. Why don't you go to the doctors? I asked him. He said he was too embarrassed. I froze, and in that moment, I was truly terrified that he would do something to me. I got up quickly and went to the bathroom and locked the door, too afraid that if I ran to the door to leave that maybe he would stop me. I don't know. I stayed in the bathroom for hours until I heard someone else come home, though. Fast forward, and my sister kicked us all out, and we ended up having to live in a small hotel room. I would occasionally wake up to him standing over me and doing himself. I was so freaking scared. His eyes would be closed, and it seemed like he was in some sleep or trance, so I convinced myself he was sleeping. Though, I would move as far away from him as possible, and turn away. I started getting to the point that I was actually terrified to fall asleep at all. I would do everything I could to sleep at friends' houses, etc. At a certain point, I really wasn't sure if he was actually sleeping or just testing his limit. Since he had actually started to whisper my name and tell me to please touch him, I decided to get back in contact with my older sister, and I told her that I was in a really bad mental state and was considering moving to Acapulco to be with my dad. He had been deported years before. She seemed to be really against this idea and offered to let me move in with her. I really didn't want to leave my little brothers behind and make them feel like I abandoned them, but everything had gotten to a point that I just couldn't handle. At some point after moving in, I opened up to her about the real reason I moved in with her, and it was to get away from my older brother. I told her everything that happened. She cried and opened up to me about my father. We are half siblings, same mother, different father. She told me that as a child, he would touch her inappropriately and even wrote her love letters, telling her to run away with him. My mom ended up finding out. Yet all she did was tell my father to stop and stayed with him. This led to me opening up about our longtime family friend who had molested me as a young child. It was a heartbreaking moment, but it got worse. My other older sister found out and said that she had also been molested by the same family friend at the same exact age, 5. I don't know about anyone else's family, but mine liked to talk, and soon it seemed like everyone knew. My aunt, my mom's sister, opened up about her dad, my grandfather, and her brother, my uncle, molesting her as a child. She had told my grandma about it, but she did absolutely nothing about it. So now, I've learned that both my father is a pedophile and the men on my mother's side are pedophiles, yet no one did anything to address this. It's actually been such a common issue throughout my family that another one of my uncles on my mum's side actually refused to see and or take care of his biological daughter as she was growing up, because he was scared that he would have the same urges that all the other men in the family did. I want to say that I get why the women in my family stayed quiet about the abuse that was going on, as a lot of us had clearly been groomed, but frick man, this is so sickening. I know it's not the end of the world to not have contact with your family, but it freaking sucks to know this sick and twisted truth about these people that I share blood with, and they get to roam freely while we suffer with the trauma. It's just genuinely sickening. I mean, part of me wants to advise telling authorities about it all, but that's going to require testimony from all the women in your family, and I doubt anyone past your generation is going to be willing to make a stand. Like, yeah, look, my heart goes out to that guy who was falsely accused with the whole lawyer situation in college and such. But I mean, when there are people like this who are getting away with that kind of stuff, it's why I don't really have too much hate towards the system and how it doesn't get it right. Like, gosh darn, we may be going harsher on cancel culture and accusations and stuff, but at least we're actually going on it. At least we're actually driving towards something now rather than just, putting it under the rug. A man staying in an abusive relationship for many years. I, female, have met an interesting man some time ago. He's extremely smart and has an excellent career. He's shown some romantic interest in me and asked to go out. But during the conversation of ours, he told me he hasn't been with a woman in 4 to 5 years. He's 35. I was a bit weirded out because why not? I don't imagine myself not being with someone for that many years. And he told me more about his life story. He's been in a relationship for 8.5 years, and that after 5 years it got abusive. But more surprisingly, he said it was coming abusive from his ex. He said that she could beat him. That it started with things he considered innocent, like slapping on emotion, and then it turned into more with time. He's a really big guy, and it's really hard to imagine some lady could do that. It's first reaction I got inside my mind, but I'm trying to understand. Then he said it's a lot about his culture, that it's very often that you need to be with one person preferably, and they had feelings, so he hoped the coups would be changed. So, as he mentioned, he took this 4.5 years to heal and work on himself, and now ready to date. But he's still taking it slow, and physical intimacy is still a bit of an issue for him. We went out several times, and he never ever tried doing anything physical together, except a hug. Once we went out, and it was too far for me to go home, even on a taxi, and he never had tried anything either. But overall, I know stories where women are abusive, but I haven't seen it that often and to such an extent. Should I take any serious red flags from this, or is it just a very sad story and some women really go that far as beating their men and these men stay? This man escaped an abusive relationship where he was physically assaulted and has gone on a personal journey and path to reclaim himself. And you think that might be a red flag? Like, you know that meme where it's like, man, is it gay to do any basic normal human thing here? We need to reapply that to, ladies, is it a red flag to care about yourself? My goodness, what a spin on this. Don't get me wrong, I know the dating field with the aggressiveness of men out there can be very daunting and just downright scary, no doubt. But if this man was genuinely like any of those people, I'm sure you would have mentioned it, considering how direct you are to theorize that there could be some red flags about this person because they've had issues in their life. Hell, maybe it's an instance for you where you've just come across this guy who genuinely doesn't have any red flags about him, that's what makes it a red flag. Yeah, the last sentence in this comment. I mean, seriously, imagine a post going like, I'm dating a girl that got abused. Is it a red flag that she stayed so long getting the crap beat out of her in that relationship? Well, my saucy sauce pots, that is the end of today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy these stories like I enjoy you. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. And until next time, you've been amazing. My name's been Jack. Bye-bye.